Good evening. This is presentation of my journey from 2002 to 2020. So there are so many questions the younger generation have to ask themselves. Whether by all these things, whether we are approaching towards a new gold standard. Everybody is talking about gold standard. I started this thing in 2002. The younger generation has to decide in between whether it is a dry endoscopy or wet endoscopy. There are so many gimmicks, pure endoscopy or true endoscopy or endoscopic assisted. Everybody is calculating the size of the incision in millimeters, whether it is a local anesthesia or general anesthesia. Even after general anesthesia, we mobilize patient after 2 hours. The other important thing the younger generation has to decide or think of is the cost of the instruments. When we minimize the incision, the size of the instruments becomes small. The instruments are delicate and there is a recurrent cost of the instruments, which the patient has to suffer, not the surgeon, not the hospital. The basic what we thought, we were taught during our training days that unless you see the pathology, you will not be able to understand what you are doing. So when we minimize our corridor, it is always better that we should have a very good vision, and always with the endoscope, there is always a skepticism that we do not have a 3D vision. In all the meetings, there is a skepticism that with microscope, which is a gold standard, we get a 3D vision, and with the endoscope, we don't get. And the last thing which after the finishing of my presentation, younger generation can take a message that with only one technique, you will be able to create a brand. There is no need to change the technique. I never thought of changing the technique in last 18 years. So this is the Mumbai conference where with Distendu technique, Dr. John Chu operated 3 cases and all the 3 cases has problem. And that was a very good thing for me. I started the Distendu technique after a good amount of training with Dr. Distendu. This is John Chu's the instrument. This is for the instrument. This is for the endoscope. So in all the things, we have an endoscope and we have an instrument port. Last, I'll show you this slide of the UBE. If we cut this into 2 parts, it is UBE. So the instruments are same. We have to play with the technique. This is in 2002. We did our first workshop in 2004 at Indore. Now the younger generation has to choose. One has to choose your own love. You have to work on the subject which others have not worked on it. You have to focus on it. If you try to change the technique every 5 years, you'll not be able to master in that. You have to do it persistently, then you'll get the mastery. And let others know about it. So your self-auditing is very important. Now the application of keyhole surgery does not require latest technology, but it requires willingness to minimize the collateral damage. Reevaluate your current thinking, whether you want to remove a total disc, you want to preserve the disc, you want to preserve the motion segment, so many things. We have to use the endoscope generously, and it is a concept. Minimal invasive spine surgery is a concept. It is not the size of the incision which matters. So don't compare the size of the incision in millimeters. This is about Distendu's technique. This is the only technique where you can use in all the pathologies. Mohinder has shown in instability. You can use it for lumbar stenosis, multiple stenosis, discectomy, central disc, everything. anterior cervical, posterior cervical, even the intradural tumors. As compared to the cost, it is the cheapest system, and it is the only system which is available, which can be used with the 3D endoscope. These are the courses which we did in 2006, 7, 9, and 11. This is what we started. This is single chip camera, halogen light. We have to assume so many things. So the crystal clear appreciation of the anatomy is possible with very good image. But this is the first workshop with the single chip camera and a Sony screen. Second workshop, little better image. Third workshop with the ultrasonic bone dissector and HD camera. And this is the fourth workshop. We started our association in this fourth workshop, 2011. 2005, we started with the same technique, the posterior cervical. This is the spinolaminar junction. This is with the HD image. This is the cervical cord, and this is the extruded disc in the axilla. Yeah, this is the extruded disc in the axilla. In 2006, we started with the anterior cervical disc preserving surgery, JOS technique. This is the uncovertable joint. And this is the forearm anatomy, vertebral arteries here. Same anterior cervical. This is the cord, root is here. Underneath my section is the vertebral artery. And this is the extruded disc. We preserve the rest of the disc. So we preserve the motion segment. When we minimize the approach related trauma, it means we have preserved the stability. We are trying to preserve the stability and the motion segment. This is calcified OPL. This is the cord, and we have decompressed the cord with preservation of the anterior 2/3 of the disc and the vertebral body. In 2007-8, I thought of using the ultrasonic bone dissector. I worked with this company and we developed this ultrasonic bone dissector, which was safe for the anterior cervical near the vertebral artery. Now this is the posterior cervical. I am on the opposite side. This is opposite side lateral edge of the dura, and I'm undercutting the opposite lamina. You can see the bone dust here. This is for the surgeon's safety and to prevent complications related with the drill. This is the cool knife. We are cutting the bone to go on the opposite side in case of a lumbar canal stenosis. This is the cord here. Now with the endoscope, you can go inside the disc and confirm that you have done an adequate discectomy. There is no need to assume that you have done an adequate discectomy. You can go inside. This is the normal disc anteriorly, and these are the end plates. So there are no loose pieces. Now this is in the lumbar canal stenosis at 2 levels through the same incision. This is ipsilateral root, contralateral root, lower caudal root, and this is the contralateral root. At the same time, we have preserved the stability. I can retract the opposite traversing route, and this is the disc here. So you can have a nice vision of the contralateral narrow areas also. This is the book which we published in 2016 about this technique and each and every detail of it. So still there was skepticism. So I was always in search of a 3D thing. So the 3D endoscope which were available were with VisionSense Machida stores. Initially, I started with this VisionSense. So insectoid technology. And these are the images. These are the 2D images of 3D. Bilateral canal decompression, flavum, this is ipsilateral root decompression, discectomy, and this is the intradural tumor. In fact, I did with the first surgery which I did with the 3D endoscope was this intradural tumor, so that I can appreciate the depth. This is also ipsilateral, contralateral root, and canal decompression. You can appreciate this video. This is the traversing route. I'm going inside for the disc. If your vision is good, you are more safe near the important structures, near the neural structures. This is canal decompression, ipsilateral root, contralateral root. You are inside the canal. And this was the intradural tumor. This was at L12. Then I started using this 3D converter, which converts 2D into 3D to get the depth appreciation. And this is how you can use it. This was the Machida, which I used from 2016 to 2017. And then I started using this TIPCAM 4mm 3D endoscope by Storz since October 17. You can get 2 images, 2 videos, and you get a very nice appreciation of depth. But you cannot zoom, you cannot wide. The basic important thing of the endoscope is the panoramic vision. Here you cannot get the panoramic vision because it's a tubular vision. But with the help of the distant view technique, you can have a panoramic vision by zooming in and out. So rather than having the zoom in the endoscope, we can use the zooming effect of the distant use technique, inner and outer tube, and you can avoid that problem. This is the 2D video of a 3D endoscope by Storz. You can appreciate the capillaries also. I've done around 332 cases, all the levels. 3 intradural, the 3 dural punctures, but which never needed any suturing or something like that. Only a tissue dura patch and the fibrin glue helps. These are the advantages of the 3D. One of the best advantage which I appreciated, that I usually call my patient's relative inside the OT to see the surgery. They can understand the anatomy, what I am doing. They can understand the disease process, and which helps me a lot in the future rehabilitation of the patient. They understand it and they can follow it, so that the recurrence and all other complications, if they can appreciate it and they can accept it. So at this end, again, how to choose your work? You have to work and do it persistently and focus on it. It is not a Amazon model where you will be able to provide all the things. You have to follow this Gharana model of India. You have to be very good in one thing. You cannot have all the techniques and you will not be able to master in all the techniques. So you have to follow one, persistently do it, and you will be able to master it, and you will be able to create that brand. We always try to blame the technique. Techniques are not bad at all. This is with the 3D endoscope. This is the training model which I have developed. Day 1, it is cadaver. Day 2, they come inside the OT and have a look at it, understand the anatomy step by step. They can appreciate the hand movements, correlate with the endoscopic picture. Third day, again they try on the cadaver. This is how we can train them, so that the blaming of the technique by the younger generation without understanding it nicely will be less as much as possible. Again, at the end, this is the UBE. Now this is called as a wet technique, 2 ports. If we divide that distant into 2 or the John Chu's apparatus into 2, these are the things which we get. So there is a role of new technology, maybe navigation. Nowadays, navigation is only used for fixing the particular screws. But if we can use the navigation to understand how much bone we have removed, whether it is adequate or not, that will help a lot in preventing the unnecessary, inadequate, or more than adequate decompression of the bone. There is always an exploitation of the technique. We should avoid the exploitation of the technique, select our patients nicely. I'll show you, this is the transforaminal approach. This is the neurofibroma. These are rare things. One of my colleagues has done it. But this cannot be a usual thing. With this limited access, as this neurofibroma was only in the foramen as a small one, it is possible. But for routinely, it will not be able to do this. So don't try to exploit the technique so that the younger generation learns to select the patient. Now we are in the post-COVID era. Economical problems will be there in countries like India and others. So we'll have to think of the cost of the treatment, and that will be the crux in the future. If the MISS techniques are compatible with the patient's pocket, they will survive. Otherwise, they will not survive. This is microscope with the endoscope. They are also thinking of the combining microscope with the endoscope so that they can understand and they can use the advantage of the endoscope with the microscope. MISS will continue to be practiced by only elite surgeons if we don't follow the cost effectiveness and the other things. We are always in the search of the gold standard, but our final thing should be 100% success is unreachable, but we should try to have a reachable goal with everyday learning, training, and improvement. So at the least, the younger generation should think of all the things, try to understand the basics, whether it is dry, wet, truly endoscopic assistant, size of the incision. They should understand each and everything and then choose the system which is suitable for their mentality, for their patients. The thing which is very suitable for Korean patients will not be suitable for Indian patients. Surgeon has to understand that, and we are not going to treat or convince the patient by the research papers. We are going to convince the patients by our own patients which were operated in the past. That is our research paper, and the younger generation should understand that. Thank you.
Dr. Rohidas, a fantastic talk by you. Philosophy, science, all melted into one. A beautiful take-home message for all the people who are listening to us and who will be watching this on YouTube and future recordings. You have brought to light that very essence of endoscopy, and that essence is deliverance, relieving the patient of his problem, cost effectiveness, and utilization of all existing technologies, their modifications to the benefit of the patient. So if I were to put it in a nutshell, sir, you have merged history, you have merged science, and you have merged philosophy all together in this lecture. I think it was a wonderful lecture. Dr. Kaushal's talk regarding endoscopic fusion using the modified Destandau sheet was something very innovative and wonderful. Dr. Abdul Halim Yusuf and his experiences with his patients in Indonesia, I believe, excellent. Malaysia, sorry, excellent. Malaysia, excellent. And Dr. Paresh Chandade, you are a remarkable surgeon. You have very beautifully demonstrated the very basics of the Destandau technique, the marking, the skin marking. So I think overall, I'm really in awe and appreciation of endospine. I really have not been very good at it. For me, it was a passing affair. And I jumped to other techniques of endoscopic spine surgery. But today, I do feel like revisiting that. So that was a wonderful session, sir. I thank you very much. I thank the World Federation of Endoscopic Spine Surgery for having participated. And I'm really grateful to you, Rohidas sir. With folded hands, thank you so much.